I wanted to make a follow-up video on my other one. I was really emotional that video, just with the tragic events that have happened last few days. You know, the girl that got stabbed in the train really impacted me, and then the following day Charlie Kirk was assassinated publicly, and I wish that I hadn't seen the footage of him getting shot, and I'll never unsee that. And then there was a shooting, a school shooting that day. It's really heavy. All sad, horrible tragedies. But the Charlie Kirk one, it just particularly bothered me. Just because of the political tensions that are going on these days, that if you have a different opinion, people hate your guts and wish death on you, and I think it's just wrong, and he got shot for it. And he was a Christian. He was a very outspoken Christian, and he didn't care. He said the truth, and he had amazing arguments explaining everything he believed. You know, there's just like maybe one topic I didn't agree. But, you know, before you judge, listen to what other people say. He had really good things to say, and he opened my eyes to a lot of the political things going on. You know, I do think differently right now about politics. My focus has shifted from trying to create a better world through politics, and it's shifted from that to me focusing on God, because I've realized that all of that is a distraction. The true battle isn't between right and left. The true battle is between good and evil. And what's shown on the news, and what the politicians say, and what the leaders say, it's all a game. And we're all, the public, we don't know what the truth is. And there's one agenda, and it's taking us one direction. And all of that is in the Bible. And this was written, the Bible was written thousands of years ago. You know, and thousands of years ago. You know, even from the Old Testament, that goes back really, really far. So for the Bible to talk about the state of the world of today, it's very interesting, and it just really sounds like what's going on. And Charlie Kirk being assassinated gave me the courage, and gave others the courage. Shout out to Jacob, my cousin's son. Very proud of him for doing the same thing, because Charlie Kirk was very outspoken in his faith. It made me realize I need to be just as outspoken, because that's what we're called to do. We're called to say the truth. There is one truth. It's either true or it's not. And these days, it's my truth or your truth, or no, it's just the truth. And sorry if this offends people, but I'd rather offend you and tell you the truth than to lie to you with a smile. You know, and I'm tired of that. But love is very important. And even though what happened to Charlie was horrible, what's most important is that we must be loving. That Jesus calls us to be loving. When Jesus was being killed, he said he was praying for them instead of wishing ill on them. That's the example we're set. So I wanted to talk about a little bit more about my personal testimony on how I came to Christ. Because I think for a person like me, for people that know me and know how I've been for me to become a Christian. And I say the term Christian very loosely because I feel like most Christians are not real Christians. And that has been, the term Christian is kind of a mockery. And I just want to say that up front. For someone like me to become a Christian is very interesting because I was the farthest from becoming a Christian or even anything like that. I was exposed to Jesus and to God and things like that in my teenage years. We attended a church. It wasn't really a good church. It was a very condemning, very judgmental church. It wasn't very welcoming. There wasn't much love. So, there has to be a balance of truth and love. And love is what God says is more important. And there was no love in that church. I've been through a lot in my life, and I was exposed to a lot of stuff, and certain things happened to me when I was a little kid. And that being for something like what happened to me to happen to a child, it messes you up mentally and emotionally. Your development kind of gets halted. But I subconsciously buried it. So I didn't remember what had happened to me for a long time. Until I was a teenager, I began to remember certain things. I didn't seek help. I didn't tell my parents. I just kind of dealt with it on my own. But it was hurting me inside. I used to cut myself because of how much it hurt emotionally. I had to feel physical pain to be distracted from the emotional pain. I was really messed up as a 13-year-old. My parents saw, but didn't tell them why. But I kind of got over that a little bit. But things were okay when we were going to church. My dad gave his life to Christ. So things were good for a bit. Then when I was around 22, I started dating my now husband. Bless his soul, bless his heart. He's a good sport. He loves me very much. I love him very much because I care about him. And I knew in my heart that Jesus is real, God is real, and I love him. So I invited him to this church we were going to. He didn't want to go. He didn't like Christians, but he went anyway, which made me feel very happy. But when we were about to leave, I saw a lady that used to mentor me, and she judged him by how he looked. He had longer hair, tattoos, all this stuff, and she treated him so badly, and it made me very angry. I kind of began to be angry with God as well because of everything that happened to me. Her treating him that way kind of pushed me away. I didn't go back to church after that. I didn't go back. It led me down a path where I was entertaining atheism. I was flirting with Satanism. I was listening to some dark music, and I think the music I listened to was so dark because of just what was going on inside me. And I felt like I had this rage in me that was being released a little bit when I listened to the music that I listened to. And I would just went down a rebellious time. I was rebelling. And it made me feel very alone, especially when I became a mother. When I became a mother, I thought it was okay with everything that had happened to me. But when something about me becoming a mother brought up all of these feelings, everything bad that had happened to me, all of these eternal questions about death and about the meaning of life and about me being scared for my children, me being scared about them going through anything close to what I went through. I didn't want them to hurt. I didn't want them to go through anything bad like I did. So that put me in a constant state of anxiety. I was really anxious. I was depressed. I had to go to the doctor. They, gave me one of those surveys on depression, and I was off the charts depressed. I was having crippling panic attacks where I was fainting at work. And I have a really stressful job. On top of that, I was having just crippling anxiety and depression, and just sad all the time, and every day felt like a battle. Every day when I woke up, I just didn't want to wake up. So I felt like I was carrying everything on my own, and that's a very heavy weight to carry on your own. So the doctors put me on meds, anti-anxiety meds, anti-depression meds, and I felt worse. Those meds made me feel worse. I started seeing a therapist. I was doing yoga, meditating, reading on what I can do to fix myself or help myself. The therapy did help a little bit, but it wasn't a fix. It was just a band-aid. It was so bad that I had to leave work for a bit. I couldn't work. I was driving into work, having panic attacks in the car before work or in the middle of work, or it's just very embarrassing and just hard and I just felt like I couldn't live. And I developed fibromyalgia, which is a chronic illness where my brain doesn't receive pain messages well, so my body was in a constant state of pain. Everything hurt. My joints were hurting, my skin hurt, and on top of that, I also had endometriosis, which is another painful condition. So I was just in pain all the time, and I couldn't sleep. I was having nightmares, horrible nightmares. And me being in that state led me to become into this person that I didn't recognize. And I just began to be very angry. I was very angry. And I already had rage to begin with from what I had been through as a kid. And my patience was zero. I was screaming. I was just a ticking time bomb. And I was not being a good example to my children. And I love them so much, and I felt like I was the one that was hurting them. When I had them, I was scared of them being hurt, and I was the one that was hurting them by just being out of control. And I knew that something had to change. And I felt like I was the problem. I was causing everybody pain, and everybody would be better if I wasn't there. I just was starting to get these suicidal thoughts of, I just don't want to be here anymore, and everybody would be happier if if I wasn't here. One of my favorite bands, called Winter Sun, came out with an album called Time 2. And I went to listen to the album. I went to a park. I parked. I found this nice spot under this tree. I walked up this hill and laid out my yoga mat, put on my headphones, pulled up the lyrics, and listened to the whole album. And that day, I remember I felt just at my lowest, at one of my lowest points. And one of the songs that I heard, called Storm, it mirrored almost exactly how I felt. It mirrored almost exactly the darkness that I felt in my heart and the rage that I felt in my heart and how it controlled me. Every time that I lost control, I would say, this is the last time, and I would do it again, and I would swear to myself, this is the last time, I would do it again. And I just felt like I couldn't, it was driving me. And this song just sounded like me. And it was a really crazy song, very heavy, very fast, very dark, very epic. You know, and when it ends at such a climax. And when the song ended, I was just feeling just so sad. And right at that moment, this dog, this white dog, and I'll post that picture of that day, because I posted that day, this picture. This white dog just, mind you, I'll have my earphones on and I'm looking at the lyrics, and then I just see these paws, and then I look up and this dog is standing above me, and he's just looking like this, looking around, and I'm just like, what? So I took off my headphones and I sit up and I give him my hand, and he starts licking my hand, and I'm just like, and that snapped me out of that feeling, of that dark feeling, and I was just like, what is this? And then I look and the owners come running up the hill. Oh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, it's okay. And they're saying, my gosh, my dog is afraid of people. My dog avoids people. And the dog was off leash. The owner was saying, I'm so shocked that the dog saw you and he just ran right to you. And I was just like, maybe he just felt my emotions at that time, because they were very intense. And I didn't realize, in hindsight, I feel like that dog was kind of like a guardian angel, to snap me out of it, because I was just feeling so horrible at that moment. So I said, oh, bye, and then took the dog, and I was just left, and I was just like, what just happened? I didn't understand. But then I was just like, all right then. So I just put my earphones back on and I hit play. The next song, called Silver Leaves, it starts out like, it sounds like the end of a storm, like calm. And that song was much more peaceful sounding and beautiful compared to that last song. And the lyrics were so uplifting and so hopeful and so encouraging. And I felt like, at that moment, I felt like I'm doing something wrong. What I'm doing to help myself is not working. And I can't do this. I can't be in this dark spot. I have kids. I need to fix this. A few weeks after that, I was in the middle of a flare-up, a fibromyalgia flare-up. that lasted for about a month. So towards the end of it, I was just like in bed for 2 days, trying to get better. But I was just so miserable. And on the second day, I just couldn't take it anymore. I got on my knees and I prayed for the first time in I don't know how long. I prayed. I didn't really pray. I just couldn't even say or think of words. I just started crying, just crying. And once I composed myself, I said to God, Jesus, help me, save me. I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. You take it. Take everything that I have. I can't carry it. Take it and I'll follow you. I'll give you my heart. I promise. Save me. And I meant every word. And when I said that, I felt this warm, just surge of a feeling of love in my chest. And when I felt it was so overwhelming. And I just started to cry. But these tears were like tears of joy instead of earlier in the prayer where I was just like hopeless. From then on, my life changed little by little. God gave me a new heart, gave me new eyes, gave me new ears. It's like I was seeing the world for the first time. And I had a peace that I've never felt. And I went to sleep that night. And I didn't sleep for like a month. That was not my strength. Mind you, I'd been trying everything I had. I tried everything and nothing helped. Jesus Christ saved my life. Not just my life here, but I believe with all my heart that when I die, I will meet him in heaven. And that is so peaceful. I'm not afraid anymore. All the fears I had are gone. I am secure in him. This is his strength, not my strength. And if I can change, he changed me. I didn't change. He changed me that night. And for anybody going through anything similar, anybody, he's the answer. Jesus Christ is the answer. That's my testimony and how I came to Jesus. I'll be releasing more videos because there's so much more to say. I could make another video on the questions that I had that were preventing me from believing in God fully. There's just so much I've learned that I want to share. And I'm doing this with courage and with love for anybody out there that is missing, that has that hole in their heart. There's only one thing that can fill that hole, and that is the Lord Jesus Christ.